Welcome back to The Breakfast Show with me, Will Kwa. Now, our first guest this morning is a rather magical corporate trainer, or rather, a corporate trainer who uses a few little magic tricks in his motivation, team building and managerial courses. Please welcome to the show this morning, Mr. Heera Singh of Heera Training Management Consultancy.
Hi.
Welcome to the show today. Thanks so much for coming down.
Thank you very much.
So, first of all, tell us a little bit about, the courses you conduct. Management training, these kind of courses. What do they actually do?
Yeah, basically I do soft skills training. Soft skills, which means leadership, interpersonal skills, communication skills.
Right, okay.
And the reason I do this training is the fact that in my career I had vast experience in these particular skills. For example, I was in the army at one time.
Oh, wow.
And leadership, as you know, is a very critical aspect in the army. And then I went to the corporate world as I was a human resource manager, which meant I dealt with people on a day-to-day basis in my routine functions.
Right.
So bringing all this vast experience and knowledge, I have used that in my training.
Okay.
And in my training, soft skills, basically it's very operational based, making sure that people get tips and ideas so that they become better managers, better leaders in their work environment.
Wow. So is it mainly for management level people, or is it
not necessarily
open to anyone really? Because it's also for motivation and team building.
Yeah, that's right. It depends. For example, with managerial skills, it could be executives and managers and so on.
Right.
Sometimes they want motivational training for their lower level staff and things like that. So it depends on the corporate organization and what are their requirements, their cultural background and things like that.
Right. So how long does it usually, how does a course kind of go along? Is it a one-day thing? Is it a few days?
It could be anything from 1 to 5 days, but I find that in Malaysia it's usually 2 days.
Okay.
One is sometimes too short.
Yeah.
3, you'll find corporate organizations not willing to release their managers for more than 2 days. So 2 will be just nice.
Right, okay. And in those 2 days, what are some of the things that you kind of cover? Unless, I don't want to give away any trade secrets, but, just generalized.
Again, it depends on the course. For example, leadership, then we talk about leadership, we talk about the current volatile business environment, we talk about changes that are happening and why leadership is going to play an important role.
Okay.
And also what can they do to become a better leader. So basically I also, we work on an action plan so that at the end of the course, I want them to bring something tangible out so that they have a plan, and if they just implement that, they become a better leader, a better manager, a better supervisor, and so on.
Wow.
So it's more practical based, more operational based, rather than theoretical based. In my training sessions, theory will be very, very minimal, probably 2%.
I'm not a theory kind of person anyway, I'm so practical. But obviously you kind of, in the course of these courses, yes, that does actually make sense. Huh?
Yeah.
it must vary quite differently depending on what sort of business as well.
Yes, that's right. It depends. For example, the other day I was doing training for a leading hotel, and they were talking about change management. So yes, we talked about service industry. How can you improve your service? How can you improve check-in times, for example?
Right.
What are your competitors doing? So we'll base on service, for example. Then I was doing another course the other day on leadership. So I talked about what is your organization going to be like in 5 years' time?
Right.
Now, if you can see your organization in 5 years' time, then you've got to now inculcate skills that will make you relevant in 5 years' time.
Right.
So things like that. So it depends, And usually we do training based on customization. That is, the corporate organizations tell us exactly what they want.
Understood.
And then we customize it for them.
So you must have a very broad knowledge of, the way lots of different businesses work in order for you to do this.
Yes, that's true. I have broad-based knowledge, and this knowledge comes firstly because of my own career in the army, in the corporate world, and now self-employed. And also I read a lot because that's relevant.
Well, research is
I do a lot of research. I write a lot for mainstream Malaysian media like News, Straits Times, Age, and so on. By writing, I have to do research, and that in itself is knowledge. So when I teach or when I train, it's sort of like just automatic, subconsciously it just comes out. And so I can speak about current topics like saying, do you know Kodak, they're having a problem because their core product, which is films, is going obsolete.
True, exactly.
So
everyone's switching to digital.
Yeah, something like that.
Understood.
So it's good because you stay relevant and you tell people about current problems.
Understood, yeah. And it's good for conversations as well.
and they find it interesting also during the course.
Yeah. Now, of course, you've also been certified with an American management training sort of group. How did that come about?
Oh, that's simple, because the American Management Association wants to come to this region in a big way,
Right.
part of globalization,
Okay.
and they wanted a pool of trainers to conduct their training, because
Okay.
if they bring the trainers from America, it'll be a little bit too
True,
expensive.
understood, yeah.
So what they did was they conducted this course in Singapore.
Okay.
But before we went for the course, we had to undergo an interview and an evaluation.
Right, so they selected you.
Yeah,
for the
selected
co-
me.
oh, right.
So that's pre-course requirements, and then we went for the course. Quite stressful, I must say.
More theory or more practical?
Practical, but at the same time, it was stressful because they put you in a very difficult positions, because they really wanted to evaluate whether you can make it,
Right.
whether you represent the American Management Association.
Okay.
And I must say, I'm glad to say that
You
at
did.
the end of the day, I am a certified trainer with them.
Excellent, that's fantastic. So, what are some of the companies that you've worked with in the course of your management training and motivational skills?
Actually,
Are we
very.
any names or any
Yeah,
big
I mean,
names?
varied industries. I've not worked in one particular industry or
Okay,
specialized. So, right from banking to service industries to, for example, manufacturing.
Wow.
So, some big companies that I've done work for would be people like Tenaga National,
Wow.
Maxis, Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank,
Oh.
RHB Bank, MNI Insurance, just to name a few. But the list is really,
Yeah,
really
so
long.
really any kind of business can benefit from some
Training.
fine-tuning.
Right,
so to
because
speak.
the training I do is soft skills, and soft skills you need in any industry.
True.
Leadership skills are required in every industry.
Wow. Do you think that there's a lack of that in the corporate structure itself? I mean, shouldn't these be skills that are actually being fostered by corporations internally?
It should. I mean, through the coaching process and
Yeah.
so on, through a mentoring program and so on. But I find the problem is, managers themselves are sometimes too busy to coach or mentor their subordinates. So they've got their own work to
Understood,
do.
yeah.
So perhaps an alternative would be training. But the problem in Malaysia, I feel, is that corporations, sometimes it's a mindset problem. They don't really believe in training.
Yeah.
If they send people for training, it's more technical skills.
Yeah,
know how to
understood.
use that machine, know how to do the balance scorecard, that's it. Leadership, well, it's something that if you have it, it's okay. You don't have it, it's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to second guess their particular
Understood,
mindset.
yeah. I think it's also along the lines of this whole, because it's more the psychological facets of management, and in Asia and Malaysia in particular, people don't really want to talk about those kind of things.
Exactly.
And you never want to air your dirty laundry to other people,
Exactly.
especially outsiders.
Yeah. And I always say, I mean, you can have the best technical manager in the world, let's say an accounts manager, the best manager in the world, but if he doesn't have leadership skills, interpersonal skills, communication
Motivation.
skills, he's not going to be a very effective manager.
True,
That's for sure.
true,
Because he doesn't work in isolation.
Wow. And do you find a lot of examples of people like that? I mean, in businesses and things that you work with, people who just have all the skills, but just aren't. I mean, in terms of technical side, but just aren't using them because they just don't have the motivation or the leadership kind of potential.
Quite a few. And I'm sad for them. And I don't blame them, because they're good technically, but sometimes they were not given opportunities to go for this soft skills training, and therefore they are what they are because of lack of opportunities. But given a chance, I think they will do well. See, it's again a mindset problem. It's
Yeah.
like, you're an accounts manager, why should you go for a leadership course? It's got nothing to do with your job. I mean, that's the mindset.
But in the end of the day, it makes you a more full, whole-rounded kind of individual.
I mean, your functional skills, which is finance, it's important. You've got to go for finance courses.
Understood,
Yes.
yeah.
But to manage your subordinates, you've got to go for soft skills training.
True.